Nietzsche once said, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." But here's what nobody tells you: the man who soars highest is often the one paralyzed on the runway, running the flight simulation in his head for the thousandth time. The overthinker isn't weak. He's the most dangerous kind of person alive, dangerous to himself, dangerous to his potential, and if you're watching this, there's a good chance I'm talking about you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your intelligence is the thing quietly destroying your life and the specific Nietzschean mechanism that lets you flip it into fuel instead of poison. Not motivation. Not a pep talk. A framework. We're living in a moment designed to reward overthinking. Infinite information, infinite choices, infinite opinions. Your feed is a machine that feeds the beast inside you that says, just one more data point and then I'll decide. Meanwhile, the man who thinks less, acts more, and apologizes for nothing is moving into the apartment you talked yourself out of, dating the woman you analyzed yourself away from, and building the business you outlined in 17 different Notion pages. This isn't about IQ. It's about will. And Nietzsche understood will better than anyone who ever put pen to paper. Overthinking is the will turned against itself. Nietzsche called it the slave revolt of the mind. Consider Friedrich Nietzsche himself. By 1888, he had written some of the most explosive philosophy in human history, Beyond Good and Evil, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, The Birth of Tragedy. But for every book he published, there were dozens of notebooks, thousands of fragments, ideas he circled back to and re-examined until his body gave out. Late in life, isolated in Turin, he wrote letters signing himself the Crucified and Dionysus. The mind that had dissected Western civilization had finally turned fully inward and eaten itself. He didn't lack intelligence. He had too much intelligence pointed in the wrong direction, inward, recursive, consuming. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power isn't about dominating others. It's about the drive to overcome resistance and grow. When that drive has no external outlet, no creation, no conflict, no action, it inverts. It becomes self-examination that never ends. Analysis that circles back to the start. The thinker becomes his own obstacle. The will, with nowhere to go, starts auditing the self. And unlike external obstacles, the self never runs out of new flaws to catalog. This is the trap: the more intelligent you are, the more material your mind has to work with, and the longer the audit can run. The overthinker mistakes the map for the territory, and Nietzsche would call this the death of the Dionysian self. Here's a scenario you've probably lived. You meet someone. The conversation is easy, there's real chemistry, something alive in the room. You go home. And then the Apollonian mind kicks in, the ordering, structuring, risk-calculating mind. You replay every word. You Google attachment styles. You read 3 Reddit threads about situationships. You build a complete psychological model of this person based on 40 minutes of conversation. By the time you text them back, 3 days have passed and you've already talked yourself into believing it won't work. The Dionysian moment, raw, instinctive, alive, got autopsied before it could breathe. Nietzsche distinguished between Apollo, the god of reason and form, and Dionysus, the god of chaos and life force. Great culture, he argued in The Birth of Tragedy, requires both intention. But the overthinker is all Apollo. He structures everything. He labels everything. He risk manages everything. And in doing so he kills the very thing that made life worth structuring in the first place. The mechanism is simple: cognition has a cost in real time. Every second you spend modeling an experience is a second you're not having it. Enough modeling and the experience window closes permanently. Overthinking is a form of cowardice wearing the costume of responsibility. Think of the entrepreneur who has spent 4 years doing research on a business idea. He has a 30-page business plan. He's read 40 books on startups. He can tell you the failure rates by sector, the optimal founding team size, the best time of year to launch. He has not launched. Meanwhile, someone with half his knowledge, a laptop, and a credit card launched 6 months ago, failed, pivoted, and is now profitable. The overthinker tells himself he's being responsible. Nietzsche would call it something colder, ressentiment, the psychology of those who convert their inability to act into a moral virtue. Ressentiment, one of Nietzsche's most precise concepts, is what happens when someone who cannot achieve something reframes their inability as a choice. The slave cannot overpower the master, so he invents a morality where power is evil and suffering is noble. The overthinker cannot tolerate the vulnerability of action, of being wrong in public, of failing visibly, so he reframes endless preparation as diligence. The mechanism that keeps him stuck isn't stupidity. It's that overthinking pays an emotional dividend. It feels like progress. It feels like control. It's neither. The overthinker's real enemy isn't uncertainty, it's his relationship with his own judgment. Marcus Aurelius, who Nietzsche respected despite their philosophical differences, wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's the darker reading Nietzsche would offer: most men don't actually distrust the world. They distrust themselves. The overthinker delays not because the decision is complex, but because he doesn't trust that his choice is worth defending. He's preemptively building a defense brief for a jury that doesn't exist. Every additional hour of analysis is him trying to outsource his judgment to data so that if it goes wrong, it wasn't really his call. This is the identity wound underneath the cognitive pattern. The overthinker was often the smart kid who was told his value was in being right. Being wrong, therefore, became a threat to identity, not just a setback. So the mind developed a defense: never fully commit to a position until certainty is total. Since certainty is never total, commitment is perpetually deferred. Nietzsche's answer is the Übermensch concept, not a superhero, but a man who creates his own values and owns the consequences without appealing to external authority. The antidote to overthinking isn't less thinking. It's developing the self-trust to make a call and stand behind it. The exit from the overthinking loop is not discipline, it is the practice of amor fati, loving what you choose. Nietzsche coined the phrase amor fati, love of fate. Not resignation. Not stoic endurance. Active love. He wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." The man who lives this doesn't need the perfect decision because he is committed to loving the outcome of whatever he chooses. Theodore Roosevelt, rough rider, president, explorer, nearly broke after his wife and mother died on the same day. He didn't optimize his grief. He went to the Badlands, built a ranch with his hands, and later said the time there made him. He chose, and then he loved the choice hard enough to make it true. The mechanism is counterintuitive. The overthinker believes that better decisions will lead to better outcomes, which will lead to peace. Nietzsche inverts the causality. It's the peace, the prior commitment to embrace the outcome, that enables better action. When you're not secretly holding a veto over your own decision, your execution improves. You commit resources fully. You adapt faster because you're not second-guessing whether you should have started. Amor fati doesn't mean you don't think. It means you install an endpoint to the thinking loop, a moment where you say, "This is my call, and whatever happens, I own it completely." Here's what you need to take from this. First, your overthinking is not a character flaw, it's your will turned inward with nowhere to go. Give it an external target and watch it transform. Second, the Apollonian mind that won't stop analyzing is killing Dionysian experiences that can't be recovered. Some moments only exist in the present tense. Third, the exit isn't less thinking, it's amor fati. Commit to loving your choices before you make them, and the loop breaks. Nietzsche didn't say become impulsive. He said become someone whose judgment you trust enough to act on. That's the work. Everything else is just philosophy in a notebook. If this hit something real for you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in that loop, subscribe. We drop one of these every Tuesday and Friday. No fluff, no hustle porn, no 10 steps to a better morning routine. Just the ideas that actually cut through. Hit the bell, because the algorithm will not save you, but maybe Nietzsche will.